Hey Wild Ducks. Welcome to our technology podcast. It's my pleasure to introduce the avatar of your host, Jerry Cuomo.
Welcome back to Wild Ducks. We're in the middle of a two-part episode where Jerry sits down with someone he calls the greatest of all time in software design, Phil Gilbert. If you haven't caught part 1 yet, go check it out. That's where Phil shared how his early startups and design discoveries set the stage for what's next. In part 2, Jerry and Phil continue the story, this time exploring how design principles can reshape entire organizations, turning culture itself into a design challenge, and how it all led to his new book, Irresistible Change.
Hey, welcome back, Phil.
Howdy.
To part 2. Let's keep it going. So, folks, if you haven't checked out part 1, now's the time to check it out. And Phil and I are going to continue our discussion, which kind of, I think, started as an interaction with a new CEO of a company, a startup company we acquired, to becoming the greatest of all time with respect to design, but then only realizing that was part 1 of the dance. Part 2 of the dance was really about culture change. And, about that time, picking up the conversation, when you went from running a part of our software business around, business processes and things like that, and transforming how we build products to a cross IBM role focused on changing the culture from a technology-oriented approach to problems to a user-oriented approach. So if you can pick it up from there, talk to us about how you organized to take on this bigger mission.
Yeah, well, it actually didn't come immediately. So I had run that, in IBM terms, fairly small business unit of about 1,200 people, but I was in charge, so I could kind of dictate the practices that we were trying to get to. When Jenny asked, "What you did there, can we do everywhere?" I realized that this is a very different problem. There are 400,000 people here, none of whom report to me. So how do you do that? So one of the first things I did is I actually went to a lot of companies that I respected for design, and a lot of companies that I knew had design teams that didn't necessarily see great outcomes in the market. And what I found was this, Jerry. In every case, the design teams were good to excellent. In fact, if you took the design teams from a really great design company and a not very great design company, you probably couldn't tell the difference if you just interviewed them. But what was different was how the non-designers spoke about their designers.
I see. Yes.
That was when it was like, wait a minute, I don't have a design problem here. I have a culture problem.
I see.
I thought originally, I thought this was about hiring 1,000 designers, doing good design.
Which you did.
Which we did. But it was really about the other 399,000 people. That's right. What it was really about.
That's right.
And so to put that in perspective, that means for every 100 designers that we hired, I had to impact 5,000 IBMers' minds.
All around the world with different cultures.
Exactly. And that was when I realized we were in the culture business, not the design business.
Wow. Yes. And I was there, and I didn't come along the first day, but I think I did the second day, so to speak.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
And then great relationships were built, lifelong relationships, with the usual suspects, Steve Kim and, things, the people that we still talk to and talk about today. And if you look at my Think Blockchain book, it's filled with classic IBM design images of my ducks. So when you think about where the wild ducks were born, they were born in the IBM Design Center in RTP. That's where wild ducks, the actual physical ducks themselves were born in a conversation with IBM Design. So I thank you for that. And
it's an interesting thing you talk about there, because blockchain was one of the most interesting things that we ever tackled. Quantum was probably the other, but which is still ongoing. But on blockchain, the interesting thing about blockchain that you're trying to communicate to the user, blockchain, if you just build a database app backed by blockchain, you're actually not delivering to the user what they're getting. Because what blockchain is all about is trust.
That's right.
So I kept, when designers would build apps on top of the blockchain, if it could have been built on, Postgres, they were failing. because they weren't communicating to the user the trust and the provenance that this data actually has, the integrity of the data.
Yeah.
And that's a real interesting design challenge, a very human-centered design challenge. How do you make, and the analogy I used was when you slam the door of a Mercedes, it sounds different than slamming the door on a 1976 Buick.
Yeah.
That is what has to be communicated.
That's right. And the product of that work won 1 year's Red Dot Award.
Yep.
And features that I would have never dreamed of is a user experience around team-based configuration management. So just imagine you go into your favorite tool and you change a setting. But in blockchain, it's about trust. So no single user should be allowed to change a setting without consent from the other user.
Yep. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Totally cool.
Let's continue the conversation and the progression. So to get the cultural word out took packaging of the concept, which kind of probably, I would guess, translates to your upcoming release of your new book, Irresistible Change, a blueprint for earning buy-in and breakout success. Yep. Right? So that's a packaging of your concepts. Finally, hallelujah. But tell us about then how did it start? How did you go worldwide? How did you take this message, to the other, have you said 399,000 or whatever it was?
Well, the animating idea, which is what the premise of the book is, as once I wrapped my head around the fact that none of these people reported to me, right? How do I get them? And I'm not a believer in mandates. I'm not a believer in the typical approach of the learning and knowledge team going in and educating people on something. Education is not adoption. I was about adoption. As thinking through that problem and fast forwarding several weeks, what struck me was this was the identical problem that my startups had when we brought out a new product. No enterprise in the marketplace wants to buy a product from a new startup that's a new vendor.
That's right.
Processes are just against it. You don't want to have new vendors, the risk of a new startup. This was a product problem. This was the same problem I had solved over and over in the startup world. And so that meant that I had to package this culture change initiative as a product. And everything follows from that.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And so, for example, we created a business model around it. Other than the first year, every team, and you'll remember this because you had to go fight for dollars, every team after the first year had to pay for the privilege of joining our program.
Right.
We charged money for it. It was a product because I don't believe in free.
That's right.
So people don't value free.
That's right.
If I can't make the changes so impactful that you don't want to pay for them, then I should go away.
That's right. I remember you saying if you're not willing to spend $1 on this, find me a person that is willing to spend $1. It's like, oh, I'll spend $1. No, that doesn't count.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want your $1.
Right.
It's your product. I want someone else who you don't know. And Jerry, you have a very big family. So you have to show me that it's so many people who are willing to spend $1 because I know you can get all your aunts, uncles, and cousins. So that really had an impression on us. Yeah.
So that is the real central fact. Now, from that product, then all of a sudden you start going, okay, what's my marketplace? Well, my marketplace was the global IBM. And because I believe that all change is actually predicated on outcomes, not inputs. Most change programs they're even called by their input name. Agile transformation, design thinking transformation, AI transformation. That doesn't mean a thing. Organizations don't care a whit about any of those things. Organizations care about outcomes. So when you then go, okay, if outcomes are what's important, no individual creates an outcome. Teams create outcomes.
That's right.
So now, to bring it all in full frame, we have a product. It's called Change, and the tactical aspect of it is design thinking, but it can be anything. Today, it's AI everywhere. That's the tactical thing.
Right.
Then the marketplace are the teams in your organization, and those teams have to pay for the privilege for you to work with them to get their hands on this new thing.
Interesting. Very interesting. So then, communicating this and rolling out this product within IBM is I want to say it's ever done, but it certainly achieved adoption.
Yep.
It did achieve adoption. But now your focus, post IBM with this book is to package it and share it with an even broader audience.
Yes.
So tell us about the book. Tell us about the process of putting the book together, and maybe share some of the key takeaways from the book.
Sure. Well, I've been trying to write, starting in about 2015, clients at IBM started seeing the changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We certainly weren't finished, but they were seeing a very different IBM on the ground, both on our consulting side as well as on our product side. And they started to want to hear the stories. What are you doing there? And so I started engaging, and I started hearing, I would tell these stories, and I would tell stories about how we started and how we charge money for this and what do our boot camps look like. And they were all like, oh my gosh, this is gold. And you got to write this down. You got to write this down. So I started writing. But the real catalyst was in early 2024, I was in Zurich at the leadership team offsite of a major big company. And two things happened. First of all, they had asked me to join them because they had spent 2 years trying to implement this change initiative, and it was stalled out. And they were kind of doing all of the classic things. And so I was telling them the new things, and they were excited about it. But here's what really happened. At the end of that, I had about 2 hours with the team. It was a great session. And the CEO said, hey, by the way, we were in Zurich, right? Hey, by the way, the next thing on the agenda is a joint thing that we're doing with IBM. And they're going to be zooming in, video conferencing in. And why don't you stay? Just watch. And so I go, that's cool. So I stayed and watched. They did not know I was in the room, the IBM and customer team. And the executives on this client team, they'd heard my story, but they didn't really know where IBM was in 2010 versus where it is today, right? So this group comes on, and they start presenting from an IBM Garage. They start talking about their design sprints. They start talking about their hills. They start talking about the users that are going to be impacted. And then they got down to the insights from the user research, and then the application that they built using AI. And I'm sitting there going, it's all there. I mean, I gotta tell you, I kind of choked up. It was kind of like, because it was all of these people, the 10 or so that were in the US at the IBM Garage and the 15 or so that were at the offsite. All of these people just thought this was how IBM worked. And I looked back and I thought about all of the people and all of the work and all of the effort to get to this point. And that was flying home. I said, I've got to get serious about the book. I've got to write the book because this story is the story of how we did it, which is what the book is about. There's very little strategy in the book. It's all about the how. And then I had to, I really had to celebrate the efforts of all of the IBMers that made this possible, because IBM today is it's always been a fantastic company. The IBM of today is an innovative, creative, dynamic company. And I wanted to get that story out.
Yeah. Great, Phil. Well, I think I'm not sure what more you can say other than, folks, go out and get that book.
Well, you need two, really. You want one for the house and one for the office.
Okay. There you have it. Yeah, one for your kids and grandkids. So,
well, it's going to be, it's going to be it's going to be the holiday gift of the season. Get yours before they run out.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you for joining us here. And
Jerry,
it's a pleasure.
Been fantastic.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Well, that wraps up part 2 of Designing Irresistible Change. Phil's story reminds us that lasting transformation isn't enforced. It's earned through empathy, design, trust, and the buy-in that makes change truly irresistible. On behalf of our host, Jerry Cuomo, thanks for listening, and see you next time on Wild Ducks.